Good afternoon and welcome to Vietnam Rising Inside the China Market, our webinar today. I'm David Johnson, CEO of Delivering Asia Communications, and I'm your moderator today. COVID-19 has devastated the world of travel and tourism. But today, we want to focus on the positives. And what a remarkable story of resilience and resolve we're seeing in Vietnam. It's a country long in the shadow of its neighbor Thailand, and it's leading the recovery of the tourism industry in Southeast Asia, emerging first from COVID, strong, buoyant, and ready for the future. So today we're here to find out more about this story and how it is likely to play out in the domestic market and the international market, led by China, who are waiting in the wings. So today I'm delighted to welcome our speakers, led by Ken Atkinson, founder of Grant Thornton Vietnam and vice chairman of the Vietnam Tourism Advisory Board. Michael Pirro, chief operating officer of Indochina Capital. David Keane, CEO of hospitality branding agency Quo. C9 Hotel Works managing director Bill Barnett, with whom we partnered to do the China-Vietnam Travel Sentiment Survey. And our own Delivering Asia Communications China Director, Vanessa Zhu. Okay, just before we actually start off, just a couple of quick housekeeping points. So we're going to run for 45 minutes. There'll be presentations for about 25 minutes, 25 minutes, and then there'll be a Q&A for 15 to 20 minutes after that. Please type your questions into the Q&A function below, and we'll get to as many of them as possible. Those that we can't get to, please contact us separately. We will send the presentation to all the people who've registered. So it'll be the presentation and the recorded webinar will be sent right after the session. Okay, let's get going. Ken Atkinson, please set the scene for us and give us some perspective on Vietnam's growth as a tourism destination and share some views on the future. Ken, please.
Okay, thanks, David. I'd like to go back to 1990 because that was the year that I started my residence in Hanoi. And at that time, there were less than 200,000 foreign visitors to Vietnam. There were 3 international flights to Ho Chi Minh City from Bangkok. There were 2 to Hanoi from Bangkok. And if we wanted to travel outside of Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, we had to get special travel permits from the police. There was 1 international hotel, the famous Floating Hotel, which is currently residing in North Korea, if anybody wants to know. Average daily rate was over $200 US a day for staying in a cabin with a toilet that sucked, if you get my point. Okay. 2011, I think I always view as a major milestone for Vietnam when we got to 6 million foreign visitors. And I say that because when I first came to Asia, I used to go to Thailand quite a lot. And in the mid-80s, Thailand actually hit that $6 million number, which I remember well. Coincided with the opening of the second terminal in Da Nang, which facilitated a big increase in the number of Chinese tourists coming into Vietnam, and the number of flights shot up to over 100 a week. In 2018, we hit 15 million foreign visitors, and 5 million of those were Chinese, and 3.5 million of those were Korean. So basically over 50%. Interesting to note that it took Thailand 15 years to go from 6 million to 15 million foreign visitors compared to the 7 years that it took Vietnam. In 2018, we had 15,600 3 to 5-star hotels, and the number of rooms was 353,000. Interestingly, Airbnb had reached 40,000 listings and continues to grow. 2019, foreign visitor arrivals reached 18.5 million, which was the record so far, and domestic travellers reached 85 million, which is actually a pretty fantastic number and one that a lot of people overlook. We've had a decline of 40% in the first 4 months of 2020, but that's masked by a record number of visitors in January, and down to almost zero in April. Last week, we saw domestic travel resume. We saw increase in flights, interestingly allocated by the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam. And the government is preparing plans to support domestic travel. I think what we saw over the weekends, based on preliminary results, and Michael will probably have more to say on that, is that people were prepared to travel close to home, travel by their own transport, but there was a reluctance to get involved with airports and planes. So the further destinations didn't fare too well. Okay, that's the scene from me. So the key challenge seems to be the fear factor. The domestic travel to closer destinations to the major cities will probably help the smaller properties. And what my big question is, how many of the small private hotels are actually going to reopen? The key to reviving the industry really has got to be international travel. And we're talking to the government at the moment as Tourism Advisory Board about creating travel bubbles between countries or destinations that have managed to contain community transmission. But we're unlikely to return to 2019 levels, I don't think, until 2022, unless we're able to start taking visitors from China by the third quarter. Thank you.